And I think the examples he got to us were really, really inspirational. He said that survival is optional, but change is not. And internet has brought a lot of change into the way we Indians think about content that is given to us. It is my pleasure today to introduce you all to Vidushi Kapoor, who is the moderator for this session, the panel discussion on impact of digital colonization of the internet. Vidushi is a second-generation problem solver and the co-founder of Process9 Technologies. Who better to lead this today than you, Vidushi? Over to you to introduce the panelists and take it ahead.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Madhu. Good afternoon and welcome to everyone. Let me start by introducing our panelists for the session. We have with us Ms. Anuradha Agrawal, founder of Multibhashi Solutions. We also have Mr. Ranjit Oak, Chief Commercial Officer at Pernod Ricard India. And of course, we also have with us Mr. Vivek Nandapani, who is the co-founder and CTO of Reverie Language Technologies, a company specializing in text and speech technologies for Indian languages. The impact of digital colonization on the internet. Now, India just celebrated its 75th Independence Day, which marked the end of British colonialism over India. The word colonization itself, it stirs sort of an emotion in all of us. Though today we are here to address a slightly different kind of colonization, one that we see on the internet in terms of the language of the content available online and its impact on the quality of user engagement. When it comes to languages, India is a land of dichotomy. But let's look at what the numbers have to say about this. With 23 official languages in India, approximately 80% of India's 1.3 billion citizens speak an Indian language, not English. On the internet too, India stands at number 2 in the world in terms of internet users, and Google's most recent statistic says that 90% of internet users in India prefer to consume the content in their local language. Yet, when we look at the amount of Indian language content on the internet, the number stands barely at 1 or 2% when we combine all the languages together. So this looks like a serious gap and is leading to discussions like we are going to be having today. So let me start with you, Anuradha. What are your views on digital colonization on the internet, and what are the pain points of the common Indian netizen?
So to begin with, Dushi, first of all, I'd like to disagree with the word in this context, because if you look at it, the way we think of colonization is East India Company coming to India and gradually capturing India and colonizing India for England, right? While if we look at the online space, internet was actually built out in the West. So English was a natural choice for the internet. And then this product got more popular and everybody started adopting it. And now we look at it for all small and big needs. And now we are realizing that we need a lot of online content for Indian languages as well. But I too agree with the fact that today we are far behind in terms of the quantity of Indian language content that should be out there online, especially because now we recognize people have tasted the success in using internet for self-development, for the development of the entire country, right? And we definitely need a lot of content online. A small beginning has been made, and new age companies like us, we're putting out a lot of good quality content online. But I'm sure people will tell you that there are still lots and lots to be done. We can't call it equality for sure. But I think ultimately the responsibility falls on us, the citizens of India, to bring this equality, because we understand that growth will happen. All-inclusive growth will happen only once we have lots and lots of good quality Indian language content online.
Agree, Anuradha. Vivek, would you like to weigh in here?
Okay, so I will have a little bit of a difference with Anu here. So let's look at what internet has done to us. It has actually been the single most used medium today to access knowledge, right? So human beings by nature are curious, And earlier, when there was no internet or the digital medium, we would go ask people who would know a subject, or if we would look up a library. But today we all actually engage on the internet to learn things. That's the primary usage most of us have got engaged into. Even people who are unable to read or write, they would like to watch videos that can teach them about different things that they would want to learn. But the fact that there is so little content on the internet is not something that we can overrule. Of course, we weren't probably colonized the way colonization would actually mean, but in some way we have been. If I were to give you an example or maybe certain facts, the internet is accessed through a computing device, whether it is your phone or a computer or whatever else. It's a digital device. If a digital device is the means to access, then language representation on that device becomes fundamental to be able to give you access to any content in your language. Language access through that device is something that we in India actually solved in the 1980s. So computers with Indian languages and Indian language standards existed since the 1980s. Internet came to India in 1995. Unfortunately, when internet was getting popular, we did not really, as a country, we did not demand our languages being a part of the international standards that was governing the internet. For about 15 years since internet, that is until about 2010, practically no internet access device in India was able to show Indian languages. And so, when you really can't even use your language on such a medium, and then suddenly you come up with reports that would say that India is the second largest user of internet, but the Indian language content on the internet represents less than 0.1% of the whole. That is surprising, right? So I would say that there has been a degree of I would say bullying out there. Part of the responsibility we should own up as well.
So, Ranjit, let me ask you this. Now, if people are coming online and they're surely finding something to stay online, is digital colonization a genuine problem, or are we just getting, stuck up with the numbers?
So, I hope not to be misquoted on this one, but in the conversation we are having, colonization is not bad. It's not a term which is negative in my mind. I'd really challenge those numbers and say, if instead of content we look at consumption, how these numbers will change. It'll be a surprising statistic to look at. Because I know for a fact that if I look at some of the most consumed media, the YouTubes and the Ganas and all of these sites which are the ones that get consumed the most, so to say, through voice search, I'll be surprised if a percentage usage of Indian languages is not the other way around in terms of salience. So I think there is a need for us to look at it in a different way. I think we need to think about consumption. We need to think about where this consumption is heading, and then do we have the right representation within that? It's a very important point that Vivekanand made about the responsibility that is carried. And so we need to make sure that this content that is currently consumed and is accessible is not just at the lower end, but moves the consumer up within the ladder and slowly moves them towards points where their life can become better. It is the onus of the industry as a whole to ensure that we are moving these consumers up the chain. Because while there might be 500 million or many numbers that keep getting talked about in terms of Indian online consumers, the reality is that commerce happens only with probably 30-40 million consumers. And that number has not significantly moved up. Probably has become 50, right? It's not really exploded. How do we make sure that is something that we do better is what the companies need to pick up. And I think that is a responsibility between the companies and also this community that is listening to this particular discussion. How do we become a part of it is the question we have to ask.
Absolutely, and that actually ties in well to my next question, which is that, with businesses becoming more and more digital, brick and mortar is now passé, and digital presence is actual presence. So how are businesses really approaching language now that, commerce is really becoming the next big thing for the internet? And are they really moving in the right direction when it comes to languages on the internet?
You want me to go for that one?
Sure, Ranjit, and then probably we could also have Anuradha weigh in on it.
So I think the direction, and I do believe that the direction that it's going in is not the right direction. And that's, it might be my personal point of view, but it's not going in the right direction, because having run a consumer tech company before, I can tell you that typically what happens is that there is somebody who will come and say that we need languages, 6 languages, 8 languages, 12 languages, so that I can put it out there to say that I'm now available in languages. But if I go deeper within the funnel, am I really available in these languages? Is the question that needs to be asked. And this question always goes down the path of saying, I need to invest behind it. And if I don't see the engagement and the click-throughs for this particular language, I'd much rather not invest in it, and I then go and invest somewhere else. So it's not patient capital that is coming behind this particular effort. So I think this is one piece that companies need to seriously think about. How do I stick on and drive some patient capital behind it? I think the second piece is around leveraging languages purely to make the consumer the product. This is one very unhealthy trend that is happening. I mean, it's a very famous statement, right? If you are not buying a product, then you're a product. And if you are the product, then you don't even know what you're being used for. This particular trend is personally to me is a very scary trend. The day that ROI conversation becomes easier for product managers, you're going to see an explosion coming our way.
So first of all, I'd like to agree with Ranjit that the way localization needs to happen is not like a repurposing of the existing theme, but it has to be, the localized experience has to be reimagined from scratch. Businesses are doing it maybe for self-interest, but ultimately it gets paid for, they get their returns. So it is very important as localization providers. It is also important for us to make sure that they achieve this goal, not just because we want to make money or they want to make money, but also because the larger purpose gets served only when we have success stories. Another way I see where businesses are making a difference, user-generated content being created because of these platforms. Short-form content, long-form content, because it cannot be just built by passionate people like us in the community who feel there should be a lot of content online. Yeah. But then that is not sustainable. And like Vivek said that day, right? Businesses cannot be built purely on passion. You have to look at ROI.
Okay, so actually, when we talk about business, so different businesses have different kinds of content needs. And I completely agree with Ranjit as well as Anu on this one. I mean, you have done that, and my own experience with our customers has also been similar. That initially, when people want to do localization, they are cautious, but many of them, they think that adding languages is a growth hack. That is, if I have English and I'm able to reach about 7 or 10% of the country's population, then by adding 5 or 6 other popular languages, I will be able to go to 50%. That would mean about 10x growth in my business. But it is not a single factor element. Indians, when we localize, they also want an experience. It's not just translating a thing and that would become localized. We have seen that Indians were reading, when we didn't have internet, or when we didn't have so much of video engagement, watching videos also. The same auto rickshaw or auto rickshaw driver or security guard was literate, and they would read newspapers, they would be reading a movie magazine or whatever. Unfortunately, they would still not get access to any professional content, but they would still be reading. And that readership, which has been 10 times greater than English readership, is something that has not translated enough into the digital media. People do not still search and read because probably there is not enough that is accessible, there is not enough that is discoverable, the ease with which people were able to walk to a wheeler and buy what they want to read and get is not that easy on the internet. Even discovery itself is a problem.
So, Vivek, let me ask you this. Internet came into India in 1995. We are in 2021 now. Why is this still a problem?
So, I have seen the whole journey. I should also take part of the responsibility. कि ये वाला change हुआ क्यों नहीं है? Why this change hasn't happened? Why is it that in our country with 10 times more native language users, we have not been able to solve this really well? I actually feel sad when I look at blogs and articles published by some of the largest multinationals who claim that Indians use they feel that Indian language typing is 3 times more difficult than English typing, and that's the reason why they wouldn't like to engage. And they also say that Indians use more of voice search than anything else. And a lot of emphasis has also been given to the fact that Indian usage is more transactional than anything else. I would say that, like Ranjit said, the amount of business that happens on the internet, that is that the e-commerce or transactions that you do, is not the primary contributor to the web content consumption. You and I do not engage with the internet every day to buy something only. We engage with the internet because we want to read, we want to search, we want to do different other things than just buy things. We did not emphasize that Indian the policies and the standards that govern the internet should have considered Indian languages right at the start. In spite that we had solved those problems for us in the offline digital medium very well. We had the entire publishing industry adopting desktop publishing using Indian standards, but we did not take enough effort in migrating that into the digital medium or into the internet. We still see that publishers are not able to publish online because of 2 primary reasons, what I have observed. One is that we do not have enough beautiful fonts to be able to publish on Unicode. Many times publishers go back into certain legacy software. Even the most modern release of EDF, which is a very popular format, doesn't allow you to publish directly in Unicode. That means that if you publish in those kind of formats, it won't be discoverable. One cannot search using Unicode. Whether it is voice search or text search, nothing will work. What we have also found out is that almost about 93% of the errors that have gone into Indian language text, because we keep scraping a lot of Indian language text for language model building and machine learning and so on. 93% of the errors are because of the ambiguous display and standards that are there. An ambiguous display is also a very big factor why search will not happen. I mean, you would be searching for the right word, but it would be existing in many documents in the wrong way of the encoding. It would look the same, but it will be different, and therefore search engines will not be able to fetch anything out. So those are the major factors that in 25 plus years of internet being here, and 15 years of late start for the first Indian language, which is Hindi, we are still very, very far away from having anything meaningful to engage on the internet.
So we all on this panel agree that there is a problem that we need to solve, and all of us collectively have to play a role in it. So my last question, and it is to all of you, what are some of the tasks and opportunities that are ahead of us that we as an industry can take to bridge this gap, to solve these problems and make the internet a more level playing field? Let's begin with you, Anu.
I'd like to begin, Vidushi, by saying Vivekanand said one very good thing, that we don't only do purchases or shopping online, right? So if I bucket at least my own experience on internet, why do I use internet? I see 5 major heads, right? One is education, which is very important for me. Every time I'm learning something new over the internet. Think about people who can't who are not comfortable in English and are being left out because education is not happening to them. They're not learning something new every day. Second is entertainment. I think this bit is still there for them. Like Ranjit said, Bhojpuri Gane. How can we augment it? How can we bring in new content for them in Indian languages? Somebody on the chat pointed out Prathalip is doing a great job bringing, user-generated content and stories and etc. in Indian languages. How can we have more of that, especially in the new age thinking line of a way? Besides this, third is communication. So we have WhatsApp and we have Facebook, and the non-English speaking audience is also trying to adapt to it. People like ShareChat are also coming up, trying to give them a safer space where they're not judged just because they can't speak in English. Fourth is like commerce, like Vivekanand actually mentioned. And fifth is business. So I differentiate communication, which is more personal and with your friends, to doing business. For example, GST invoicing softwares. One of my friends is building that for the vernacular, for the non-English speaking audience. I think as a localization provider industry, our job should be to, like I said before, work so well for these people and not just do a lip service to localization, so that we have more success stories coming out, more businesses becoming successful and delivering successfully for the non-English speaking audience and blooming and going really big, which will give more people the inspiration to take that path.
So I think to meet, simply put, it's collaborate versus compete. We are nowhere close to this particular industry having reached its peak where people need to talk about how do we compete and what is my market share and whether I'm beating somebody else on a pricing or on a particular proposal that I'm sending across. While all companies need to do that, I think it's very important that there are significant projects that are taken up on the collaboration front. And if we are able to do that, it will have a knock-on effect on the overall industry, because you will have, I think Vivek mentioned that earlier on, you will have the right content being indexed in the right way for it to make sense. And the moment it starts making sense, people will start investing behind it in Google Ads search, in your SEO optimization, all of these things, right? You will then have that funnel opened up. But somebody has to take the responsibility of opening up that funnel, and that can only happen if there is significantly higher collaboration versus competition within this industry.
As an industry, we must agree and we must collaborate. We must follow the same things. The first thing that I would say that we, like I mentioned, when we are looking at text, a lot of serious text from very respectable sources in all the different languages, we find a bunch of inconsistencies in the text. And to look visually, they may look same, but they are inconsistent. So standardizing the encoding or use of a bunch of tools that actually make us actually create text that is uniform. That's the first thing. So standardization of encoding, the fonts and keypad is very, very critical. This second one that I would say is, it's a little more difficult route, but unless we as the industry demand that, it wouldn't happen. And if it wouldn't happen, we will continue to lose. So what is it? That when I mentioned that internet existed for 15 years without supporting any Indian language. By the time my language, Odia, was supported on Android or on an Apple phone, it was just about 3 years ago. I would have been able to create everything for Odia. That's my mother tongue. And I have been working on language technologies for 25 years. But that was not possible because the device architecture doesn't allow you to add a language, because of which, today we may fight and be able to get about 22 official Indian languages. But if a Bhojpuri or let's say a Santhali or a Dogri would want to have their languages also represented, is not likely to happen. And if there are services that are going to serve these people as well, they would not be able to support them at all. These are the two most important things. One was the standards that I mentioned. Second is be able to demand that the architecture within the operating systems must allow language technologies to be added, for languages that are not supported natively.
Vivek, let me ask you this. What role can, government or public policy play in, furthering this cause of ours?
I wanted to give a very dispassionate answer to this one. But the fact is that the government, the least support that we could have expected from the government was to at least support our own industry and users. I'll give you an instance to this because I'm quite sure that most of the audience or the people who are working for the Indian users today may not have worked for more than 10-15 years. But the fact that we actually lost the digital battle, that losing the battle happened a little before that 15 years ago. So I mentioned that we have created all our standards, the ISKI encoding standard, and there were font encoding standards which could not be implemented uniformly across the operating systems because the operating systems were restricting that. The operating systems getting developed by Microsoft. Now, the thing is that outside of the United States, India was the biggest, largest market for these American companies selling operating systems. We were the ones who were buying. But, there is also another very interesting fact, that is that the Indian buyers were actually using pirated copies. Then who was actually paying for them? It was the Indian government that was actually buying in the largest numbers. So practically, I would say that, in these last 20-25 years plus, we may have actually created Microsoft, Apple, Adobe, etc. all together, right? So, but we have still not been able to make them offer us even compatibility to our national standards. So I would say that by the year 2000 or mid 2000s, there were huge amount of adoption within the publishing industry as well as within the governments of Indian software that were compatible to Indian standards. Although these software were the most used, and they were probably the only ones supporting Indian languages by and large. Let aside the non-standard ones, even the ones that were compatible with the national standards. When Microsoft and others they came in, they refused to offer any backward compatibility to Indian standards. And because of which all of these became obsolete. And when they became obsolete, for quite some time, until the time that Microsoft and Google started offering Indian languages within their operating systems, we had no Indian language support at all. Internet, being the biggest medium, had nothing. So that was the gap. And this kind of thing could have been avoided if government had actually mandated much earlier. Even today, government offers zero support to Indian companies or Indian standards. The standards are still being offered to us, by Microsoft and Google. And when something is introduced for our languages, we pat our back saying that, okay, meri bhasha ab Google mein aane lag gayi. Right? So that's the support I would expect from the government.
If you are making, let's say, healthcare content available in a particular language, and if you're a company that is working in this side, private partnership can be taken as a CSR investment. Just a different, probably a little radical thought, but that will switch it completely in mind, right? Because suddenly then you'll have people who are interested in doing it, even if it is for profit, and that's perfectly fine in my mind.
Yeah, absolutely right, Ranjit. I also 100% agree with you. In fact, I would add to that, to an extent, the government's role is not only, government doesn't have to do any charity. The industry which actually grows to help the Indian consumers is also making money out of that, and that's the reason why they are trying to do all of that. The problems that we got into was when the Indian industry, which was serving the Indian language users, was completely blocked at the operating system level itself, and the government was not willing to do anything out there. I think it is just about being able to facilitate. It's not about making charity. But this is really good. It will definitely help.
Yeah, I hope that there are some members in the audience who are able to take this to the right forum. Very, very engaging discussion. Thank you to all the panelists for sharing their thoughts. Thank you, Citlop, for giving us an opportunity to discuss this, very interesting topic.